Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. Welcome to another video. Once again, this is the second time I believe you've been on my channel. Shane Stein, the executive producer of the Game Chasers movie, aka Adventures in Game Chasing is the official title. And I'm really happy to have Shane on because he is going to give you some secrets behind the Adventures in Game Chasing, some troubles and some challenges they had with making of the film. Making a movie is extremely difficult and is always going to be loaded with challenges to overcome. And you're going to give us some of those secrets today. Say hello.
Hi, Shane. Thanks, Brett. Thanks for having me back.
We just got through watching the Mavericks lose. That was kind of a bummer, but we've been having fun hanging out and talking. And also, hang on tight, guys, because after we talk about the secrets behind the Adventures in Game Chasing and some of the obstacles and some of the challenges in making that film, you're going to give us an update on what the Game Chasers, what they have planned for future films. You mentioned a Game Chasers universe, so that's going to be really interesting. So hold on tight for that. But first up, we're going to talk about the troubles that were associated. Anytime you're making a project, making a film is extremely difficult. I mean, I can't imagine undertaking something like this. And we're going to talk about that, and let's get to it. All right, Shane, so very briefly, what does it mean to be the executive producer of Adventures in Game Chasing? I'm assuming you're a financial backer and just sort of a supporter in general. And what else did you do?
Well, yeah, Brett, I did a few things. So executive producer can mean a lot of different things, right? I mean, on some movies, yes, it literally just means somebody that financially backed and that's it. But sometimes it means more. And in this case with Adventures in Game Chasing, I did do more. I mean, yes, I was a financial backer of the film. There were a number of other financial backers, of course, in a Kickstarter campaign, but I did do that. But I would say what I did more was, okay, so let me back up and explain, first of all, I should probably say what a producer is. And I have done that. So I had a film and video production business when I was in my early 20s. So I'd been involved in making some movies prior to Adventures in Game Chasing, but it'd been a long time since I'd done that. When someone is typically a producer, the primary producer, I mean, they're literally running the production day to day like the CEO of a production. Mm-hmm. I mean, every moment, everything, very involved in that. And you can have multiple producers, obviously, but that's the main role of a producer. That was not what I did on Adventures in Game Chasing.
Like you said, it can mean a bunch of different things. It can be hands-on, hands-off, but you were involved with it periodically with the making of the movie. Like you would show up on set occasionally, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so what I did, so my role with the executive producer in addition to the financial backing was, I was not, there was another producer, Scott Kinney's his name, who was who filled that particular role. What I did was much more big picture, let's call it, mm-hmm. where, yes, I was on set some of the time, not as much as I would have liked. As it turned out, I had to go to New York for a business trip midway through the set, which, unfortunately, that, it had to do what
life
you had to
happens.
do.
Life does happen.
Life does happen. But what I did, I would say my main role was whenever they tended to have a big problem, Jay and Billy would kind of come to me and say, Shane, can you help out on this?
Right. Okay, let's talk about some of those problems. What were some of the challenges making this film, and what specific anecdotes? Let's get to it. Let's dig deep. What do people not know? Some of this is going to be revealed publicly for the first time. What are some things that challenge you faced, some unexpected things, some barriers? I know the film was delayed quite a bit, so just talk about some of the challenges making the film.
Sure. So I'll talk about that, and I think that'll encapsulate, really where I came in as the executive producer also.
Right.
So when we first started filming it, there's a lot of pre-production that has to be done. I mean, there's the obvious things like you've got to get your actors and actresses, you've got to get your sets down, you've got to figure your locations, obviously the script is written, you've got to storyboard it, you really got to figure a lot of stuff. And actually, I would say for this movie, that all really went relatively smoothly.
Well, a lot of people thought this was just going to be, a lot of the skeptics thought this was just going to be a long Game Chasers episode. And it's not. It's a real movie.
Yeah, this was a real movie. I mean, I think I can see how a lot of people thought that because Billy and Jay, up until this, really had done YouTube videos, was their primary medium. But, remember, Billy is also a video editor as well. And so this wasn't totally out of the blue to get involved, in the longer form motion picture. But they wrote a script for it and really put it together. And by and large, I mean, considering the jump from the YouTube, I really did think it went phenomenally well in terms of, I would say, 80 to 90% of it.
Yeah, when I saw the movie, I saw the movie at a Retropalooza. They had a screening the night before at Retropalooza Arlington in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I saw it with a group of fans, and I was a little surprised it was a little slicker than I thought it would be. Like, there were some special effects, and I guess with Billy being a professional videographer, I shouldn't have been too surprised, but it was of course it's Game Chaser, so it's silly. There's 8-Bit Eric's map on 8-Bit Eric's butt. It's silly because it's Game Chasers, but it's actually a professional production, and so yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, no, a lot of the special effects, that's stuff that's added in post-production, right? First you film the movie, and then post-production is where you do everything else, basically to make it from filmed scenes to final cut.
Right.
And that's actually where a lot of our challenges came in, because I would say the movie really went relatively smoothly, in my opinion, from the pre-production all the way to the initial film shoot, which the principal photography was done actually in fall of 2019. So right before all the COVID. And it's to be expected, right? You film it and then the post-production happens, but here's what usually happens is, inevitably, there's going to be a few scenes here or there where you say, we didn't quite get right what we wanted, let's reshoot some of these, or let's overdub, different, obviously you overdub the music after that, but you're overdubbing just potentially different, redubbing a different scene where maybe the audio didn't come in as well, things like that. But where we really had a challenge was because of COVID.
Yeah.
So several things happened which made it more challenging, let's call it.
Well, you mentioned COVID. Now, I saw when Game Chasers, they posted this, they said we have challenges related to COVID. There were a lot of cynics and were saying, oh, that's just an excuse. And some people were saying that, they raised this money and, where's the movie? And some people were like accusing them of running a scam. And obviously they were working on the movie and they did have COVID challenges, which I'd love to hear about more details on that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and they were, and again, I get it. When it's your first motion picture, I can see people being skeptical just because they've never seen the finished product delivered yet, and so they didn't know.
And some people have been burned on Kickstarter. Some people have backed projects that take lots of money on.
That's true, but I gotta say, I wasn't worried in the slightest. I mean, Billy and Jay and the whole crew, everybody was dedicated 100%. There was no doubt in my mind at any moment that we weren't going to get this movie done and make it a great film, and so I wasn't worried one bit. But I'll tell you, here's some of the challenges that came in, that you asked about. So first of all, we had to, there were several locations when we filmed in the fall of 2019 that because of COVID, we weren't able to access those locations anymore.
And this entire film was filmed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was, it was all filmed mainly at this place south of Dallas, was filmed the vast majority of it, and then a few other locations. But primarily the problem we had was there were a couple scenes that really just needed to be reshot, and we absolutely had no access to the original locations.
Because of COVID.
Because of COVID.
Yeah.
The owners just said, no, we're sorry, you can't get to these places anymore.
Right.
One of them was a basement, and another one was actually a scene shooting a video game store.
Oh, okay.
And
these places were completely shut down.
Completely shut down, no access to them. And that was a challenge, and that's one thing where Billy and Jay really came to me and said, Shane, can you help us out with this? We just cannot figure this one out yet.
Because you know some business owners and you have contacts, you have connections.
Well, I try my best, right?
right.
So I'll tell you what we did, and I got to admit, I mean, things really fell into place here. I mean, better than I would have ever expected, but it did take a lot of work. So for example, with the basement scene, it's a challenge because in the Dallas area, there are very few basements.
Yeah.
people who don't live in Dallas may not realize this. There are virtually no houses with basements.
It has something to do with the ground, and it's like too hard or something. There's some like geological reason.
I think so.
Yeah. Right.
And so what I did, so Billy and Jay and I, we were looking all over for places with basements, couldn't find anything. And finally, I hit upon an idea that at first that I thought would be great. I remember one friend of mine growing up had a basement in his house, right in the Oak Lawn area. His parents lived in that house for decades longer, but it just moved out a few years ago.
They didn't have a game room down there, did they?
No, they didn't have a game room. I don't know what was down in that basement, but it wasn't a game room. No, but I remember I decided to go cold knock on the door at that house. I put on a suit and tie. Maybe that was overkill. I don't know. But I put on a suit and tie.
They probably thought you were an evangelist or something.
Yeah, they probably did. But I put on a suit and tie and I cold knocked on the door. And this probably 20-something lady opens the door, and I basically say to her, I said, this is going to sound totally crazy to you, but could we use your basement for a movie scene? And I said, don't worry, the only reason I know you have a basement in this house is because my buddy, grew up here and I lived here.
That doesn't sound suspicious at all.
Not at all. And then she said, well, I'm renting the house. I don't own it. Let me ask my landlord.
Right.
And
I'm surprised she was willing to do that much.
She did open the door.
Well,
if she was very skeptical, she opened the door a little bit. And then I gave her my business card. I told her all about the movie. I told her about the website. I told her about the Game Chasers.
You have kind of an innocent look.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
Right.
But I was truly genuine.
Yeah.
I mean, but again, it's not. Look, you don't get a knock at the door every day asking to film a movie scene in your basement.
That's
right?
very bizarre. Yeah, unless you live like in California or something, maybe.
Probably thinking is this Freddy Krueger or Nightmare on Elm Street or something.
Yeah.
But ultimately, she didn't let us do it. I think. She said she talked to the landlord. The landlord was sort of wishy-washy, and she had a lot of stuff in the basement. Ultimately, she didn't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. You know what? I tried, but then we still, where are we going to film this scene?
Yeah.
Ultimately, what I ended up finding was this, of all things. There is again, for all non-Dallas people watching this, there's an old mall in Dallas called Valley View that was demolished. And it was really sort of only halfway demolished. It was frankly a big eyesore in Dallas for quite a long time because it was sitting there halfway demolished. But the fact of that turned out to be the greatest blessing for us with Adventures in Game Chasing, because it turns out that I'm actually friends with the developer of that mall. It's a guy I went to high school with, and I'm still in touch with him. And I
told you had connections.
I guess so.
I told you guys. Yeah.
And I pretty much I was reached out, and he basically said, yeah, you can film in the ruins of Valley View Mall's basement.
Nice. Now, why was it so important to have a basement? Like, why couldn't you just have a room and have it? I guess
technically we could have done that, and we tried it.
Yeah.
We tried a number of locations, and we just couldn't find anything that was right. It really needed to look like a dank basement, kind of like the Goonies.
Yeah, right.
We tried a number of other places that didn't work, and finally, this Valley View Mall was perfect. And it wasn't a piece of cake either. It wasn't just, my friend's like, hey, I'm the developer, you can use it. We had to go through his manager, his foreman, the security people, because, this was not easy, but ultimately we got the permission. They gave us basically like 2 days, and we went in and we filmed a scene, and boom, golden. And
what scene is this in the movie?
I don't want to spoil too much for anyone who hasn't seen it, but there's a particular scene that takes place in a basement, and that's the scene. So,
okay. Did you find anything in that mall, like when y'all were walking around? Was it creepy in there, or was it completely shut down?
No, it was completely shut down and demolished, but it was so demolished that we didn't even need to walk through an interior entrance to get there. It was half open from the outside.
Really?
We just
Wow.
walked right into it.
Kind of creepy.
Yeah, it was. It was a little creepy, but it worked for the movie.
All right. Any other challenges that stand out?
Yeah, we had another scene that was kind of similar. There was another scene, and actually this turned out to be my favorite scene in the whole film, which I'll touch on why in a moment. We had a scene where it needed to take place in a video game store, which again, it just needed to be redone. Could not access the initial location, but we had to build a set that would match the initial location. Yeah. And we were really stumped on that. We drove all around the Dallas area, looked at building after building, could not find anything that matched. Yeah. Finally, what we did was, again, I guess you could say a friend of mine saved the day.
There you go, guys.
Another buddy of mine who actually owns a retail shopping center in Garland, which is it's a suburb of Dallas. he had one. Okay, so it was this shopping center that, you know, it had a bunch of stores, right? There was this one location that was not built out, not leased, nothing. And he said to me, he said, look, I'm getting a contract on this thing in like 3 days. Here's the keys. You got 2 days to go film this thing right now. And I said, bro, I love you. And we went and filmed that scene. We set up the entire store in there. We set up everything we needed to for the scene. Knocked it out in those 2 days, got it done. And the reason why it's my favorite scene, I love the whole movie. They needed 2 kids to participate in that scene, and I got my 2 younger daughters to be the 2 girls in the scene, and so they both have roles in the movie.
That's really cool.
Not speaking roles, but I like to say my kids are movie stars. And
that's fun.
And here's the funniest thing of that all. When they had the premiere of the movie, I brought my family there, and we're watching it. And, you know, again, these are my 2 younger daughters, and they're saying, you know, when are we going to be in it? And you know, remember, their scene only lasted for, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, halfway in the movie, both of them decide they need to go to the bathroom. They missed their scene
Oh, no.
in the middle of the premiere.
Oh, my goodness.
But we got the Blu-ray. It's on Amazon Prime Video, so they've been able to catch up on it.
Right.
But,
I think it might be on like Tubi or Hulu or something.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Video.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on several other. It's on Vimeo.
Yeah. For those of you that don't have Amazon and want like a free one, you can figure out. I think it's on one of those free ones too.
It's on a couple others, and you can get there's DVDs available. And, made some Blu-rays, so it's the movie's been it's been out.
You mentioned the premiere. I was supposed to go to that, and I got COVID.
Oh.
I was so bummed because I was going to meet you.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Go with you
I
guys.
remember that.
But your family was able to go and stuff, and this was when things were opened back up and you could attend things, but people were still getting
Everybody's
COVID, and everybody's wearing masks. And dang it, I got COVID right before that. I was so disappointed because I was really looking forward to that because a lot of my friends were going to be there, like you guys, and I think OK Chief and 8-Bit Eric and everything. And I was looking forward to seeing it in that environment, and that would look really exciting. And I was going to film a video for the channel and everything, and man, I just sat at home sick.
Oh.
It was such a drag. Any other challenges stand out in your mind on making this film?
Yeah, there were a few, but I would say none that were quite as big as those 2.
Yeah.
I mean, there were other locations that I had to find for them, and we actually we were going to film this one scene in a mansion, which I actually found that too, but we ended up having to cut the scene just because it was too far away from Dallas. It was or from where the movie was filmed. It was just logistically it wasn't possible, so we actually had to cut out that entire scene from the whole script, actually. And
you were telling me earlier that the movie has been pretty well received by people, fans of the Game Chasers, hardcore retro gaming fans of stuff like just 80s movies that are partly campy, action oriented. A lot of the films that we love, that we grew up watching. That's the kind of the audience for this, and nostalgic retro gamers and that kind of thing. And you've had some good feedback, like that you've read online or that people have told you, or what, or both.
Yeah, I mean, definitely online. If you go to Amazon, it's got, I think, 4.5 star average
That's
review,
cool.
A lot of 5-star reviews.
Nice.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, this one is for the fanboys in many ways. Certainly, you're going to get a lot more of the jokes, I think, if you know the retro game world. But that doesn't mean you can't get it if you're not. I mean, let me say this: my wife is certainly not a video game fanboy.
It's pretty broad-based comedy.
Yeah, but she cracked up a lot of it at the premiere and enjoyed it. And I think it's it was a well-done movie. And I think especially Billy and Jay did a great job writing it. I think they everybody did a great job acting in it. I just think it was really. I mean, it just came out. I mean, I can't say. It's hard to say what our expectations were going into it because it was sort of this big unknown. Like I said, don't get me wrong. I knew we were gonna hit a grand slam with it in terms of making it, but in terms of what the audience reception would be, it was definitely an unknown. Well, the good thing is the Game Chasers had this great built-in fan base, right? Yeah. So that certainly helped a lot. But I think the movie helped attract a lot of new fans, like people that hadn't watched the YouTube show and people that really, are new to the Game Chasers. I really think, I think the movie helped broaden their audience.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's silly in parts. It's genuinely funny in parts. It's campy in parts. It's kind of gets serious in parts. They try to throw the nostalgia angle in there, and the gaming with the grandparents and stuff like that, and Lost and everything. And it's I think it's pretty solid. I think for a couple of YouTubers, a couple of chodes, I think they did a pretty good job. And it's nice that they could pull that off and that it eventually got made and that the Kickstarter backers were rewarded with their perks and everything, and that it all eventually came out. You know, it was delayed like a lot of stuff during COVID. And, you know, when it's easy to sort of sit back and judge a content creator, and so that basically the bottom line is the people that were saying that they were running some kind of scam were just dead wrong.
Yeah, they were just wrong.
You know, and they were kind of talking out of their ass, and so whatever, you know. And I know the Game Chasers have their, you know, fans, and they have their people that aren't fans, to put it, you know, to put
That's
it nicely.
okay, you know,
and all, you know,
gonna
every online personality has their, you know, hardcore fans, and their people that, I mean, don't like them very much.
Yeah.
And that's just how it goes here on social media and on YouTube and everything. So you were telling me earlier that there's going to, their aim is to have a Game Chasers universe, as it were, and they've got a couple of films sort of that they've been, you know, working on. And can you tell us a little bit about each one?
Yeah, a little bit here. So yeah, the goal certainly is to develop a Game Chasers expanded universe, which hopefully Adventures in Game Chasing is only,
the GCU?
Only the start of that.
Or GCCU?
Yeah.
GCCU, Game Chasers. Wait, that's just GCU.
Yeah, GCU is all right.
I don't know where that other C was.
Yeah.
Chode.
Exactly.
That's it, right there.
Chode.
Anyway, so there's two projects, and
It's kind of like Adventures in Game Chasing is the expanded universe of Adventures in Babysitting, right?
right there you go. That's why. So they changed originally it was the Game Chasers movie, and then
Yeah.
they changed it to the Adventures in Game Chasing. Can you tell me quickly what was that? What was the thought behind that?
Well, the Game Chasers movie was always just a working title,
Okay.
Until kind of finding something that fit, and we
Mm-hmm.
thought Adventures in Game Chasing, and absolutely, I mean, it's meant to be reminiscent of Adventures in Babysitting.
Adventures in Babysitting is a fun movie. I love that the kid is just obsessed with Thor. I think that's
Yeah.
such a quirky, odd thing about a movie, and that's a fun movie.
Yeah,
I
that
like
was
that
a great
lot.
movie. I think I
Yeah.
had the biggest crush on Elizabeth Shue when I was
Oh, gosh.
9 years old when
She's
that
amazing,
came out.
and she's still incredible.
Yeah.
I love her.
That was a great movie. But,
Did you watch The Boys?
No.
Oh my
I
gosh,
didn't
that first season, and I'm not going to spoil this for you. You're supposed to be able to spoil stuff if it's been out for a while, but I don't like doing that because there's people that have never seen it. But
That's
Weiss season
true.
of The One of the Boys, Elizabeth Shue is amazing. Anyway, so two projects coming up.
Yeah, so I mean, the plan is to hopefully have a number of projects in the work, but I can tell you just a couple ones that are being considered right now is, for one, a spin-off featuring the Ghost Getters, who are very prominent in Adventures in Game Chasing, more on their backstory and where they came from and what they're doing. I think that, you know, that's one thing that's in the works.
And you said that's video game related. It's like it's Ghost Getters. Are there Ghostbusters parody elements, or is it more just another game chasing movie?
Well, there definitely is Ghostbusters parody elements, but it's
Yeah.
also fitting it into the Game Chasers universe. So,
Okay.
So that's something that's been, you know, in process, and you know, to be determined what the timing of that is.
Right.
But in process.
Can you give us a rough idea of the plot?
At this point, not really, because it's still kind of in the works and evolving. So
Yeah, you don't want to give away something at this early of a
Yeah.
juncture, and you may not even know yet. I'm sure a lot of the details are very early stages.
Yeah, so that's been happening, and then a few other scripts are under consideration, including one that I actually wrote. Well, I really wrote the story and the characters. We're working on potentially fleshing it out into a script, and that's actually a movie which it takes place. It's basically about it's called The Great Lost Grunge Band, and it takes place.
The Great Lost Grunge Band. Okay,
That's at least the
right.
working title
Yeah,
of it.
right.
It basically is about what it says it is, about a grunge band from back in the day that just and their story and what happened to them, and that is actually based on, there's some reality of, you know, the people that I played music with back when I was in college. And, so some of that's based on some reality, but it is of course a fictional story, and it's a comedy, and the goal, if we end up going that direction, would be to tie that into the Game Chasers universe also. So that's another
Right, and it's got a nostalgic factor to it, right? So it'll kind of tie into the, you know, when you're watching the Adventures in Game Chasing, there's nostalgia, and I kind of assume, just kind of based on their channel and knowing them, there's going to be a lot of nostalgia in whatever projects they.
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely a retro type of deal, of course.
That's cool.
But those are a couple under consideration. But it's still evolving, and we'll see. In fact, I'm planning on just ironically enough, I was just talking to Billy yesterday, and we're planning on getting together in a couple weeks, and we'll we'll catch up more on all this stuff.
I told you earlier that was coincidence, not irony.
Yeah,
that's Alanis Morissette irony.
Yeah,
no, okay.
Exactly.
Hey, language is evolving, and a lot of people use irony like you did. So it's fair. It's ironic. It's a coincidence. Whatever the case, it doesn't matter. I'm just being pedantic at this point. So.
This is a man whose wife is an English teacher,
right?
So he knows this grammar better than I do, I suppose. Brett's a professional writer.
But it is really cool that you just happened to talk to Billy yesterday when I suggested doing this film, doing this video here today. So that's really cool.
That is true, because Billy and I hadn't seen him in probably 2 or 3 months, and literally yesterday.
That's cool.
He reached out to me, and so we're planning on getting together, pretty soon here. But also the other thing that's going on, of course, is that the Game Chasers are continuing to make episodes. I think they're up to, at the latest was episode 88, I think was the most recent. So
sounds about right.
So the movie was an origin story, but it's certainly not the end of the YouTube series by any means. So if anybody here has not been watching their YouTube series, I highly suggest to go check it out. It's still going on. It's still entertaining. It's still fun. And
I'd watch an episode here and there. And despite my better judgment, I kind of enjoy their episodes.
Yeah.
They can be pretty funny, and it's kind of interesting to see what they find. Even in this day and age, you can still find stuff out in the wild, and it's kind of cool when they stumble across something. I like the one where Billy stumbled across that retro gaming store that went out of business years ago, and it was all shuttered. And did you see that one?
I don't think I actually saw that.
Yeah, he's found some old dusty boxes and stuff, and some old games that you'd have to restore, like clean up and everything. It was really, really pretty good episode. But anyway, I think that one got a lot of positive feedback. So that was really fascinating. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, check out the Game Chasers on YouTube. Do you have any other updates or anything else you want to say about working with the Game Chasers, or about their forthcoming projects, or anything at all, or whatever?
I guess I'll say one thing, maybe just plug in another project I'm involved in that it's not related to anything Game Chasers wise, but I would...
Good, I'm sick of talking about those shows.
That's right. But I would like to ultimately relate this to some film. Maybe it could be one of theirs. So I am actually making my debut as a classical music composer coming up soon. Now, to give you some background on that, my whole background is rock and pop music. I am not a classically trained musician, so this was definitely a good challenge for me. It's a 3-minute piece. It's called, at least unless I change my mind on it before we release it in a few weeks, it's called Classical Wedding Theme. It's a piece for piano and string quartet that really, I wrote it to be hopefully played when people walk down the aisle, at a wedding. I've showed it to a few people, and somebody actually likened it to the music from Final Fantasy VII. So
cool.
I really appreciate that. Was not anything I was even thinking of going into that, but I always appreciate being compared to an incredible video game with an incredible soundtrack.
Right. And if you can't think of a title, you could call it Lick My Love Pump.
I could. I think we got the title right there.
Do you know the reference? This is Spinal Tap. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so there were...
now I do know the reference.
Yeah, one of the characters is working on a real pretty piano piece or something, and it's just real sweet and everything, and Rob Reiner's like, what do you call it? He said, that's really nice. What do you call it? It's Lick Me Love Pump.
That was Viv.
That was...
I think. I haven't seen that
so
movie.
Funny. Yeah,
I haven't seen that movie in 20 years.
Of course, I'm drawing a blank on the character's name, but it was, there's David St. Humbids, there's Nigel Tufnell, and there's...
and then like the 50 drummers.
There's the drummers. Yeah. But anyway, it's a...
Viv was his name, I think.
Viv.
Was it?
Viv.
I'm wrong. I don't remember.
Anyway, you guys are going to be screaming at me. You guys are going to be screaming at me in the comments. That's half the fun, is just torching the comments, and also I know there's going to be people torching the comments. Oh, the Game Chasers movie sucks, but that's just how it goes. I'm also going to get a lot of comments. The majority of them will be saying, "Hey, the movie's fun. It's not Casablanca, it's not Citizen Kane, but it's a fun adventure movie. It's a piece of nostalgia, and
it's better than Casablanca and Citizen Kane. Somebody's got to say that."
You know,
even if I'm biased.
I guarantee you there are some people that find Casablanca and Citizen Kane incredibly tedious to watch and old and black and white and boring that love the Game Changers movie, so fair enough.
That is very true.
All right, guys. Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Shane, thank you so much for being on the channel again. This is awesome. It's been half an hour. It's felt like 5 minutes. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks for coming over to watch the Mavericks game. Now, the Mavericks are down 0-2 at the filming of this. I don't know when this will appear on YouTube. It could be a bit, but anyway, hopefully the Mavs will you know, come back and I don't know. We'll see. Celtics, boo. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Shane, again, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. Maybe you can be on the channel again sometime when you got some more information or when we hang out again.
Sounds good.
Awesome,
Thanks
guys.
so much for having me, bro.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks, guys. We will talk to you in another video.